Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Uncut. My name is Billy, or BK23 on Instagram. And today I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I'm actually going to give you guys a tour of my larger cabinet humidor. Get asked a lot what humidor I use. I'm not sure of the specific brand, but it is a 3,000 count tower humidor. I've also got a couple of smaller desktop boxes that I use, typically for just sticks that I smoke on regular occasions, some of my regular production cigars sitting there as well. But it allows me to acclimate different cigars under different temperatures and humidity based off of how I like to smoke them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today. So just a background on me, I've been smoking cigars for about 10 years now. Over the past 5, I've really found a passion for Cuban cigars. A lot of my Cuban cigars are comprised of Edición Limitada, regional cigars, some more rare Gran Reservas, and a few others. But a lot of people ask, well, why Cuban cigars? What makes them so special? It's not, in my opinion, that they're better or worse than any of the Dominican or Nicaraguans out there. There's a lot of great non-Cuban cigars. My personal preference tends to be a more medium-bodied vitola, something with the nuance of graham cracker and cinnamon, vanilla, some light cocoa. There are some peppery, full-bodied Cubans, but you don't find as many of them. And over the past 5 years, I've just amassed an exceptional collection. Well, collection's a bad word. I actually intend to smoke all of them. I just typically buy them faster than I can smoke them. So I thought it'd be cool to give you some insight on my collection specifically, some of my favorites. One of the other questions that I was asked a lot was, outside of the more exclusive, harder to find regionals and EL, what are some of your favorite regular production cigars? My number 2 cigar in my 2018 top 5 countdown was the Humidor Set 54. Exceptional smoke, really delicious medium-bodied cigar, great with coffee. Not necessarily something that would hold up to a whiskey, but really would hold up well to a port. The others include the Monte Cristo number 2, the Partagas Serie D number 4, the Joyo de Monterrey Epicure number 2, and many others. We'll get into that in the future in another episode. But for now, I wanted to walk you through my humidor, show you what I've got hiding in there, talk a little bit about my setup, and some of the humidification systems that I use. I do live on the East Coast. Right now it's freezing cold, zero humidity. My humidors are in the basement, so that usually creates some havoc. But I'll talk to you about how I work my way through that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Here we go. So for reference, I thought I'd give you an idea of how I have my humidor set up, and then we'll break down each individual drawer. As you can see, I do like to keep Boveda packs throughout my humidor. It allows me to create some consistency in humidity. Up top, humidity tends to rise a little bit, so it is a little bit more humidified on top. I like to keep the upper shelf where I age some of my more rare cigars at a consistent 65% relative humidity and 65 degrees. As you move down, oftentimes, depending upon what systems I'm running, the humidity goes a little bit lower, plus or minus 1 or 2%, which works out well because I actually like to keep cigars that I'm ready to smoke at about 63% relative humidity, and the cigars that I'm aging at about 65. So Boveda allows me to do that without having to constantly worry about checking. I've also got the Boveda Butlers that allow me to, without opening my humidor, get an idea of what the existing relative humidity and temperature are. So I've got one of those on each shelf. So Reservas, some of my more rare cigars. The second are my Edición Limitada and vintage or aged cigars. I'll keep that at about 64%. And then as I move down to my regionals on the third shelf here, I'll do about the same 63. Some of the stuff that I smoke, I'll either keep in my regular desktop humidors so that I can keep those at that 63, 62%, which is about the lowest that I'll go. But I also keep some singles and other boxes inside of these drawers as well. So I'm constantly determining what I'm smoking the night before and then doing something called dry boxing. Now, dry boxing is when you actually take a cigar that you know, or a couple cigars that you know you're going to smoke, put them into a cedar box, something like an old cigar box, and I'll let those sit out. And by acclimating to that outdoor or out of my humidor temperature and drying out just a little bit, the next day I find that they really do smoke a lot better. Then down at the bottom, really where I keep some of my overflow of boxes. This is more of things that I collect more of. You'll see the Humidor Set 54. We've got some Vejique down there that are ones that I smoke. I was previously running a Cigar Oasis Magna. Unfortunately, I did find that with the Magna and the gel beads, that some of the beads as I was taking them out had accumulated a little bit of like a mildew, or not necessarily mold, but something that just didn't seem to sit the way that I would like for it to in my humidor. So I got rid of that, and I'm trying out a couple of different systems and ideas. So I do have some of the Cigar Oasis fans. I am a fan of this humidity bead system as well. I think the two, Boveda and the humidity bead system, tend to be the same technology. They absorb any excess humidity and don't allow it to go over whatever that preset limit is, in this case 65%. I've got a couple of computer fans that run throughout, and that way all of the air and humidity circulate throughout. Nothing will then become stagnant. You don't have to worry about inconsistencies in the humidity rotating through. And then once a quarter I try and pull all of my cigars out. I'll wipe my box down. I'll rotate my cigars so they don't get any soft spots from sitting on top of each other, or just from sitting on the cedar by themselves. And I'll rotate my boxes as well. I'll open them, I'll do a beetle check, I'll make sure that there's no mold, which because of the way that I keep my humidor, there typically is not. And look for plume. Completely different discussion about plume versus mold. Look it up online. There's plenty of people talking about it. Not an easy thing to determine, but once you get an eye for it, it's a little bit easier. So again, gives you an idea of what my humidor consists of, and now we'll break it down and I'll show you some of the actual sticks and boxes that represent each of these different levels. So one of the fun things about doing a humidor tour is that I get to pull out some sticks that I kind of forgot that I had. The 1966 EL is easily one of my favorite cigars of all time. This actually represents 5 or 6 years of a lot of time spent and a lot of money hunting down what some consider to be unicorns. Some of my favorites in the Reserva shelf up top, definitely the Siglo 6 Grand Reserva, the Partagas Lusitania Grand Reserva. These are from the most recent Habanos Festival. This is part of the Grand Churchill. I think they made 450 of the humidors with 100 sticks each, but the festival coffins were given out and very rare. KSA, couple of pretty spectacular boxes that I really spent, like I said, a lot of time tracking down, and was so excited to find that now, as OCD as I am, I'm having a hard time lighting them up. For example, the Por Yaga Magnifico. I think they made only 1,020 boxes of these in 2007. So they've definitely got some great age on them and a beautiful color. Really exceptional smoke as well. And then there's things like the Bahique 52, one of my favorite of that linea. The PL Sobra Saliente is also great. When I mentioned festival coffins, here's an example of what a festival coffin is. This is something that they'll give out at the festival. You'll see them pop up for sale, certainly not cheap following the festival, but it's a showcase representation of a box of cigars that we'll be releasing shortly after the festival. Oftentimes it takes a couple of months. In this instance, it is the Cohiba Reserva, which you're starting to see pop up in some of the authentic retailers throughout Europe and a couple of other places. Pretty amazing smoke though. I'm excited to try and get my hand on a couple of boxes, although they're becoming a little bit elusive, understandably so. Some of the other Grand Reserva and Reservas I have, some of the other festival sticks. This is actually a beautiful box as well. This is the Condi 54. Again, another pretty sought after box, and just recently acquired these as well, which I'm excited about for any Ramon Alones fans. Definitely a must-have in your humidor if you can track them down, from 2011. So, with that said, I will now show you my Edición Limitada drawer. Alright, so for the sake of time and the fact that I don't want to bore you guys to death with this tour, this second shelf is all of my aged or Edición Limitada cigars. There's a couple layers of things in there, but got the Choice Supreme jar, MJ23 custom roll, a couple other really great sticks. The Partagas Lusitania, Definitely one of the regular production cigars that I missed in regards to being one of my favorite. As I move my way down to my regional shelf, if this light helps at all, you'll see that I've got fans back there with the Humidor systems and some other stuff that's constantly running. But some of my favorite regionals, definitely do like the regional cigars quite a bit. I feel like a lot of the time and energy put into picking out the blend has really created some special stuff. This is a box of the Phoenicia 35, the Bolivar Sobrano, and the Monte Cristo Leyenda, a couple of other really great sticks. Then as I move into some of the drawers, there's a rare non-Cuban. You'll see some of the other regionals. Again, the majority of my boxes tend to be regional cigars. There's the Dantes, some other aged stuff. There's some KSI hiding in there. And then down on the bottom, some other boxes and things that I'll keep. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, please feel free to leave a comment in the comments section. Definitely want to make sure to answer everything. Send any suggestions that you might want on good affordable cigars like we talked about, or even where to find these. A lot of my collection has come from other people who have collected over the years throughout Europe. And we'll buy, sell, and trade from one another. But recently I started using Cigar Shop Lumo and really like them a lot as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the quick tour of my humidor. My goal is to be a resource to you, so if you have any questions about the cigars that you saw, humidor maintenance tips, wiping down or seasoning your humidor, you can go back through some of my old videos, or feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram at BK23XXIII. You can also leave comments down below and I'll be sure to answer all those as well. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.